In the heart of a quiet morning, a little girl sits alone on a park bench, her tiny hands moving gracefully over a sketchbook. Each stroke of her pencil tells a story of hope, of longing, of a world she wishes could be kinder. Across the path, a man in a tailored suit walks by, his life perfectly structured, yet hollow inside. He doesn't notice her at first, but then her words, soft and unshakable, reach him, piercing through walls he built years ago. A child's innocence and courage meet a man's guarded heart, creating a bond neither expected. It's a story about loss, love, and the subtle miracles that happen when we truly see someone. Stay with us, and let this journey remind you that hope can come in the smallest, most unexpected forms. The morning sun poured gently through the trees of Central Park, casting soft golden light onto the paths that twisted like ribbons through the awakening city. Birds chirped in quiet harmonies, the occasional runner passed with earbuds, and coffee drinkers clutched their cups, moving with the rhythm of early routines. Yet amidst this serenity, a small figure sat alone, perched on a weathered wooden bench. Her hair fell in loose golden tangles, her bare feet resting on the cool pavement. Dirt smudged across tiny ankles. In her lap lay a worn sketchbook, colored pencils fanned around her like a radiant halo. Her concentration was absolute, the world around her fading, replaced by lines, shapes, and the story she was bringing to life with each careful stroke. Noah Reed walked briskly along the familiar path, his gray overcoat sharp against the morning light, leather shoes quiet on the stone. He hadn't sipped the coffee in his hand, nor had he noticed the subtle warmth of spring air. His mind drifted automatically to April 17th, the day Lily had died. A life once shared in laughter and love had been abruptly stolen, leaving him precise, controlled, and cold, a man built of blueprints rather than feelings. Yet that day, as his gaze fell on the little girl alone on the bench, something faltered. He slowed, a cautious step, then another, compelled by an unexplainable gravity. The girl did not flinch as he approached. Her eyes remained on the page, hands moving confidently, each color chosen with care. On the open sheet, a hospital bed was drawn in minute detail, a woman, pale and fragile, lying still, a child, kneeling beside her with clasped hands. Noah's chest tightened. He hadn't cried in years, not even at Lily's funeral, yet the image struck him deeper than any memory he had tried to bury. He stepped closer, the weight of unseen emotions pressing against him. "Are you alone, sweetheart?" he asked softly, his voice gruff but gentle. The girl lifted her gaze briefly, calm and unafraid. "Not really," she said. "I'm with my wishes." Noah blinked, struck by the innocence and wisdom in those words. "Your wishes?" he pressed. She paused, her small face thoughtful. The kind that cost too much for grown-ups. Her simplicity, her honesty, made his heart twist in ways he hadn't known it could. "Where's your mother?" he asked, the question hovering between concern and curiosity. "She's home," the girl replied. "She's sick, really sick." There was no plea, no tremor, just fact, stated with the unwavering steadiness of someone who had learned to carry burdens beyond her years. Noah crouched, bringing himself closer to the child's level. "What's your name?" "Ellie," she said. Simple, clear. "That's a beautiful name, Ellie. I'm Noah." She nodded once, her attention immediately returning to her drawing. The next sheet revealed a tree beside a man and a girl. "He's alone, but he doesn't want to be," she explained quietly. Noah felt the pinch of recognition, the echo of his own loneliness mirrored in her words. Her small body carried a serenity he could scarcely comprehend, as if she had already learned to balance a world of grief and hope on fragile shoulders. "You shouldn't be here by yourself," he whispered. "I come here when Mama sleeps too long. The walls are too quiet." Ellie shrugged. Noah didn't respond, words failing him entirely. Then, fleetingly, her gaze met his. "You look lonely too," she said softly. In a single fragile gesture, Ellie tore a page from her sketchbook and pressed it into Noah's hand, walking away before he could respond. Bare feet fading across the morning path, she left him holding the echo of her world, a world both fragile and unyielding, a world that would irrevocably change him. He hadn't intended to care. He hadn't meant to follow, And yet, the paper in his hand weighed heavier than any blueprint he had ever held. That moment, seemingly ordinary, would mark the line between the man he had been and the man he was about to become. Back in his penthouse, the glass walls offered a view of the city sprawled in perfect symmetry. But today, the view felt hollow, distant, cold. Noah stared down at the sketch in his hand. The hospital bed. The emptiness where a father should have been. Everything in his apartment, designed with meticulous care, felt lifeless. Smooth leather, polished floors, stainless steel counters, objects without warmth, devoid of life. He traced the lines of Ellie's drawing with his fingers, absorbing the story in the same quiet, careful way she had drawn it. For the first time in years, he moved without a plan. He canceled his design review, his assistant calling moments later to confirm. "All of it?" she asked, concern threading her words. "All of it," he said simply. No explanations, no hesitations. By the time he returned to the park, Ellie was still there, sketching, her concentration unbroken. He watched her, quiet, his heart slowly opening, learning to feel again. The morning unfolded like a quiet revelation, each shared glance and unspoken understanding forming a bridge between two lives that had been broken in different ways. Ellie's drawings, her wishes, and her resilience had touched something deep within Noah, something he had thought lost forever. And as he sat beside her on the bench, pencil in hand, ready to participate in a world of imagination and hope, he realized that this encounter was no longer a fleeting moment. It was the beginning of a journey. One neither of them could have foreseen, yet both would carry forward, forever changed. Noah's footsteps echoed quietly on the sidewalks as he followed Ellie from Central Park to her neighborhood in Harlem. Each block seemed to tell a story. Glossy storefronts gave way to shuttered shops, narrow sidewalks littered with flyers and worn chewing gum. Yet Ellie moved confidently, hopping over cracks, her small figure carrying resilience and purpose. She didn't speak much, only pointing when it was time to turn, but she occasionally glanced back to make sure he was following. In her eyes, he saw trust and an unspoken invitation into her world, a world that, until this moment, he had never imagined. When they arrived at the worn walk-up, the green door peeling, the dim hallway lit by a flickering bulb, Noah felt the weight of reality settle around him. The apartment was small, barely a one-bedroom. The living room doubled as sleeping space. Oxygen tanks and a rusted IV stand marked the corner where Angela, Ellie's mother, rested. The air smelled of rubbing alcohol, something metallic, and years of hardship. Noah paused at the doorway, overwhelmed, acutely aware of his own privilege and the fragility surrounding him. Ellie didn't hesitate. She led him inside with quiet determination. "We don't have much space," she whispered. Yet, she had saved the best spot for her mother. Walls were adorned with Ellie's art, dozens of drawings taped from floor to ceiling, rainbows, trees, balloons, houses, suns with smiling faces everywhere. Color and hope flourished. Even in the face of hardship, Ellie had created a sanctuary. Noah's heart tightened as he recognized the courage, discipline, and hope embedded in each crayon stroke. Near the center of this fragile world lay Angela, her face pale, her breathing shallow but steady, a woman weighed down by illness, yet dignified even in weakness. Noah's mind raced. He had designed buildings that soared, orchestrated skylines, but never had he encountered something so small, so intimate, and yet so monumental. "Hi, Angela," Noah said softly, approaching carefully. His voice was awkward, human, and yet deliberate. "I met your daughter today. I think she might have saved me without meaning to." Angela stirred faintly, eyes barely opening. Ellie squeezed her mother's hand gently, grounding them both. Noah knelt beside the cot, handing small comforts, helping adjust blankets, providing the simplest of necessities: food, medicine, warmth. In that quiet apartment, actions spoke louder than any words he had previously relied on. It was a new blueprint, not of steel and glass, but of compassion and presence. Days turned into routines. Noah memorized the bus schedule to Harlem, knew which pharmacy had the medicine Ellie needed, which corner store baked her favorite sandwiches. His once meticulously planned life, built around meetings, investors, and schedules now revolved around the needs of a small family that had never asked for anything but care. Morning routines were no longer dictated by business calls, but by the soft breathing of a child and her mother, the unfolding of sketches and colors, and the quiet, profound moments of life shared. Ellie's sketches evolved, too. They no longer depicted only wishes or illness. They captured memories, small joys, the textures of life as it unfolded in their shared days. Pancakes on Sunday mornings, walks through the neighborhood, the attempt to garden together, they became symbols of hope and connection. Noah, initially an outsider, found himself embedded in routines he had never anticipated, his heart learning the rhythms of a life built not on profit or design, but on love, presence, and commitment. One evening, as they sat by the window with mugs of cocoa, Ellie asked the question that lingered in his mind, though unspoken for years. "Did you always want to be an architect?" Noah smiled faintly, holding the warmth of the cup, gazing at the streets below. "Since I was about your age, I wanted to make spaces where people felt safe, where nothing fell apart." Ellie looked down at her sketchpad, eyes intent. "Did it work?" she asked softly. "Not always," he admitted, and in that answer, there was an honesty rarely shared. Then, looking at the drawings around the room, at the bright colors and hopeful scenes, he realized he had been given a new kind of architecture, one of hearts and lives, fragile yet resilient. Noah and Ellie shared time like an unspoken contract, each day layering trust, affection, and mutual respect. She no longer flinched when he picked her up, no longer questioned his constant presence. She simply allowed him to inhabit her life, quietly and completely. Even the mother, Angela, though weak and often silent, acknowledged his care through her eyes and subtle gestures. Together, they formed a fragile ecosystem of life, love, and resilience. A family by choice, necessity, and heart, not by law. And through it all, Noah's own grief softened. Lily's absence, the cold hollow in his chest, began to fill not entirely but enough to allow the smallest spark of warmth. Ellie's drawings, her bravery, and her unwavering hope reminded him of what he had lost, yes, but also of what he could still protect and nurture. Each sketch, each act of kindness, each shared moment was a blueprint for something more profound than buildings, a map of love, connection, and second chances. As morning light touched the apartment, illuminating the stacks of paper, crayons scattered across the floor, and the quiet breaths of mother and daughter, Noah understood. He wasn't saving them alone. They were saving him too. And in that mutual rescue, a bond was forged that would carry them both forward through struggles, joys, and the uncertain but undeniable promise of a life renewed. The calm rhythm of Noah and Ellie's days was disrupted one afternoon by the arrival of Thomas Gray, Ellie's biological father. His presence was abrupt, polished, and cold, a sharp contrast to the warmth Noah had cultivated in the small apartment. He wore a pressed navy suit, confidence and entitlement radiating from every step, and carried a manila folder, the weight of authority and legal claims in his hands. Noah's gaze hardened as the man stepped forward. "You look better than I expected," Thomas said, glancing at Angela. "Death hasn't been too greedy, huh?" Noah blocked the path, voice steady and firm. "You're far enough," Thomas smirked, raising the folder. "She's mine, after all. The law will back me." Noah's chest tightened, but he did not flinch. This wasn't just a confrontation over custody. It was a test of heart, responsibility, and love. He could feel Ellie's small presence beside him, her gaze wide and trusting. She was counting on him not to fight, but to protect. The courtroom became the stage for this battle of lives and intentions. Old wood, worn benches, and faint scents of paper and time held witness to the unfolding drama. Noah sat beside Ellie, her small hand curled into his, sketchbook clutched like a shield. Angela's statement, notarized and submitted, lent weight to the truth of their daily lives together. Thomas's lawyer, slick and rehearsed, leaned heavily on biology and past connections, but the thin veneer of his argument could not mask the years of absence and neglect. When it was Noah's turn, his attorney presented meticulously documented evidence, police reports from years past, unpaid hospital bills, character letters, and school reports illustrating Noah's transformation and devotion. But the turning point came not from law or documentation, it came from Ellie. With delicate courage, she stood on tiptoe and placed her open sketchbook on the judge's desk. Drawn in bright colors and meticulous lines was a large tree, roots stretching across the page, sheltering 3 figures beneath: a mother, a child, and a tall man, kneeling with gentle eyes. The caption read, "Family is who shows up when wishes can't." Ellie spoke, her voice trembling but firm. "He's the one who stayed. He doesn't yell. He doesn't scare my mom. He makes pancakes and draws, even when he's bad at it. I didn't ask for a dad, but I think he heard me anyway." The room fell silent. Thomas's smug expression faltered. Even his lawyer's practiced smile waned. Truth, as conveyed by the heart of a 7-year-old, carried far more weight than legal technicalities. The judge, after careful review, granted temporary legal guardianship to Noah Reed, effective immediately, with long-term status to be revisited in 60 days. Thomas stormed out, frustrated and defeated, the reality of presence, care, and love outweighing his legal argument. Outside the courtroom, Noah and Ellie walked hand in hand, their bond solidified not by biology, but by choice and heart. Ellie's soft question about Saturday pancakes and Sunday waffles drew a faint, genuine smile from Noah, a small but profound symbol of continuity, stability, and the joy of belonging. Back in the apartment, life resumed, fragile yet full of meaning. Angela rested peacefully, aware that her daughter was safe, that the man who had entered their lives unexpectedly would remain, not as a savior, but as a constant presence. Noah's life had been irrevocably altered, no longer measured in meetings, profits, or blueprints, but in the quiet routines of love, attention, and care. He learned the rhythms of breakfast, medicine, and art. He witnessed Ellie grow in courage, creativity, and confidence, her spirit a living testament to resilience. Weeks passed, and the finality of Angela's peaceful passing was met with grace and dignity. There were no dramatic farewells, only a gentle, deliberate closure. Ellie remained beside her mother, whispering, "You can rest now," as Noah knelt quietly, a steady hand on her shoulder. In the ensuing days, they planted a cherry blossom tree, framing the end of loss and the beginning of a new chapter in light, color, and life. Noah guided Ellie through this period with patience, compassion, and steady attention, honoring the woman they had loved and lost while creating a foundation of hope for the child who had become the center of his life. Together, Noah and Ellie navigated a world reshaped by love and responsibility. Their routines, once dictated by schedules and deadlines, now flowed around laughter, sketches, and the simple joys of shared time. Sunday mornings became sacred rituals of pancakes, art, and storytelling. The apartment, once a sparse container of survival, bloomed into a haven of color, warmth, and connection. Noah learned that family was not a static blueprint, but a living, breathing work of art built over time with patience, presence, and unwavering care. Through challenges and triumphs, through loss and renewal, the bond between Noah and Ellie solidified into a love neither had anticipated, but both desperately needed. They had discovered that the most profound connections are not inherited, but chosen, nurtured, and protected. And in this quiet revolution of the heart, both found a home where hope, courage, and love were no longer abstract concepts, but daily realities, drawn in crayons, lived in gestures, and engraved in the rhythm of a life rebuilt together. In the quiet aftermath of life's trials, Noah and Ellie found themselves in a world reshaped not by wealth or status, but by love, compassion, and the gentle persistence of care. Every morning the sunlight streamed through the windows of their modest apartment, falling on walls adorned with Ellie's drawings, a vivid testament to hope, resilience, and imagination. The cherry blossom tree outside bloomed in silent celebration, petals drifting like soft reminders of the journey that had brought them here. Noah watched Ellie as she carefully sketched the moments of their days together. Pancakes on Sunday mornings, walks through the park, laughter shared in the simple corners of a home built not on opulence, but on presence, Each stroke of her pencil reminded him of the profound truth that family is not defined by biology or circumstance, but by who shows up, who stays, and who chooses to love without hesitation. Through her eyes, Noah saw the beauty of connection he had forgotten, the warmth of responsibility he had once feared, and the extraordinary power of a single child's hope to transform a heart long closed. Angela's memory lingered gently in their routines, her life and struggle becoming the quiet backbone of their shared story. Noah learned that grief and love coexist, that loss shapes the way we cherish the present, and that even in the shadow of sorrow, life offers opportunities for renewal. Ellie, resilient and insightful beyond her years, became the bridge between past and future, reminding Noah that the simplest acts, bringing breakfast, sharing a sketch, holding a hand, can echo louder than any grand design. Together, they rebuilt a world of warmth, laughter, and trust. Their mornings were filled with soft light and quiet conversation, afternoons with art and exploration, evenings with reflection, care, and shared moments of peace. Noah realized that the work he had once measured in steel, concrete, and accolades now found its true meaning in human connection, in the small acts that nurture and sustain life. In the presence of a child's unwavering hope, he had rediscovered the ability to love, to commit, and to protect, a heart rebuilt by the simple, undeniable force of care. This story, as fragile and beautiful as a drawing on a park bench, reminds us all that love often arrives in the quietest, most unexpected ways. It is found in a child's courage, in the gentle persistence of showing up, and in the willingness to embrace responsibility, not for glory, but for connection. In a world that sometimes feels fractured and fast, Noah and Ellie's journey is a beacon, illuminating the extraordinary power of presence, hope, and the simple act of staying. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that even on the darkest days, love can find a way, subscribe to the Retold Stories. Let us continue to share tales that heal, inspire, and celebrate the enduring strength of the human spirit.